My name is Brad Cunningham, and I'm a teacher at Reynolds Secondary School with the Flexible Studies program in Victoria, BC.
Great. How has your participation in the partnership project / process supported your own learning?
My participation with the partnership project has supported my learning through the opportunity to collaborate and learn from other people. The networks that have been created through this project have been invaluable in supporting me and our team as we continue to try to implement models of the renewed curriculum. Knowing that classrooms are silos within a silo of a school, within a silo of a district. So we're very much siloed in what we're trying to do. To know and to be able to reach beyond our silo, both within our own kind of classroom, but also our schools, and to know what other people are doing and learn from them, but also just get through the support, that's allowed me to continue to progress and as such learn through my own experience, but also be connected to others and their experiences, but also to their resources and other people who are supporting the work that we're doing. So that network, while becoming more, the informal network, I think, is the power where we can just reach out across space and time to other people's experiences, has been very valuable in allowing me to continue the work that we're doing, because it's been often challenging. You feel alone, less so as a result of visiting other places and other schools and connecting with other people.
Mm-hmm. So specifically, you mentioned the work that you're doing here. Can you talk about that a bit in relation to the new curriculum in terms of what you are trying that you feel relates to the new designed curriculum?
Trying to do a lot around the interconnectedness of things and really focusing on big ideas. The Flexible Studies program here at Reynolds is a grade 9 and 10 cohort. So we're going kind of across ages, looking to break down that barrier a bit. We're interdisciplinary, so we're looking to move away from siloed subject areas, especially within core courses. So next year we're looking at social studies, English, and science as our core components. Also bringing in planning for as long as it's around, and then environment and sustainability, which is a board authorized course developed by one of our teachers. And so we're looking at that interdisciplinary piece, as well as we're looking at community and how are we bringing in the community, both in terms of next year, looking at Ocean Networks Canada, looking at City Harvest Co-op, and working with the Songhees First Nation, and the interrelatedness of all those, in addition to about 10, 15 other community partners, including local government, the Legislative Education Office, Saanich News, like all these supporters of our program. So again, looking at big ideas, focus on that more so than making that our driving question, our inquiry model kind of thing. Looking at going across grade, across age, across curricular, and then in the community. So really taking up the opportunity to use the space that's been created by the new curriculum, and we're trying to fill that space with meaningful and relevant, inquiry-based, and direct teaching where and when needed, models of learning.
Mm-hmm. Thinking about the interconnectedness of that work that you're doing, how do you feel that relates to student engagement?
It's we're right now, from this year, we're starting to get some final reflection pieces in. One of our summative assessments is what has shifted or changed for the student throughout this year, a moment, an idea, a concept, or a way of learning. And we're really seeing, I had a conversation with a grade 10 student yesterday who was coming into the program being like, oh, okay, sure. She said, which was really powerful, is that flex is both easier and harder than regular class. It's easier because the deadlines are a bit more flexible. You get to choose what you want and that, but it's harder because you have to commit. And you have to like do stuff and care about stuff. And that's the harder part. And I thought that was really telling, especially as she had taken up a lot around the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and the 94 Calls to Action, and had done a project with her group for the Royal BC Museum that has been up there for a month, 2 months, and that focus on the 94 Calls to Action. She was involved in a day where they read, members of our community read the 94 Calls to Action, so she was one of the readers of one of the calls and was down at the legislature steps for that. And in her final reflection, which was an image that she drew, she had 94 little leaves, it looked like, around a mandala, which she explained to me. I didn't know what it was. And those represented that learning. And so that, I'll use her as an example. We definitely had kids who didn't care. Like, this was not the model for them, or they could not break free, or didn't want to break free of the old kind of like, where's my textbook, give me the test model. So we absolutely had students like that, and they're opting out of this model for next year, going back to a more traditional model. But for this student that I was just speaking about, it clicked, and that she's really passionate. And the other thing that she said is she had a moon cycle going around the outside of her mandala, and which was really neat. She said, there's always different faces of the moon. It's always the same moon, but you get to see different parts of it, or different like shades of it. It's always changing, but it's the same. And she's equated that to herself. And she said, what I've realized is that I have passions about a lot of things, and I don't have to do all of them at the same time. And just because I'm not doing one of them doesn't mean it's not a passion. It's still something that I can come back to.
Mrs. Coey, if you're in the building, if you could please call 230. That's Mrs. Coey, 230.
So having her have that recognition that she was able to be this and that, rather than this or that, which I think is kind of the old model. It's like you are science, or you are English, or you are art, or you are musical, or whatever. She can be more than one thing and have passions about more than one thing, and have them all within her and access them at different times is a really powerful piece of learning for her. So in terms of the interconnectedness of everything and passion and picking up those things, I think it's students need the time to come to understand that, and I think that's where we are all afternoon, all year for 2 years. It's very powerful because students have that opportunity to grow into it, and we're seeing that mostly in our grade 10s at kind of like the 3/4 mark of their grade 10 year. They get it. So it almost takes 4/5 of their time in flex before it clicks. Then they're like, oh, okay, like this is why we're doing this. This is it. And then we'll see what they carry forward into grade 11 and grade 12.
Right. It's a great example and a lesson for, as we become adults and our lives get so complicated, it's easy to say like, oh yeah, I don't write anymore. I don't have time for that. But it doesn't mean that it's not a part of us. And often I think we feel like we've let things go, and that student has learned that no, it's still a part of you. That's amazing, especially since high school kids often have very busy, complicated lives. So it seems like for at least that student, flex has become like a grounding place. Do you see that for other students? Would you say that might be something?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot. There's an article by Bill Ferreter. He just wrote a blog post about it, and it was about like kind of the unexpected learning outcomes. And I think that's what this renewed curriculum allows for, are the unexpected learning outcomes. Because before, there's the prescribed ones. You need to learn all these things. But what's both the hidden curriculum, which is kind of the way that what we're teaching kids that we don't realize we're teaching them, that we probably don't want to teach them, but also what are the unexpected learning outcomes? What are those things that they're learning because of us, or not because of us in some cases, that are beneficial for them? And so for Flex, what we're seeing is that there's a bunch of unexpected learning outcomes that are being met, but the renewed curriculum is kind of wrapping those in through the core competencies, also through the curricular competencies. So we're accounting for those in a broad way, and that's where I think the fear of some teachers around, well, how are we going to assess these? Well, we don't need to assess them. How do we just like allow students to speak to them and then acknowledge that that is something, that a skill set that they have or something that they've learned. And we don't need to like give what that student said an 8 out of 10. Like there was no assessment per se of that. I can say, go back and now think about this. But through our conversation, I was like, oh, tell me more about what this means, and tell me about this. And so she was able to go deeper into a couple ideas, and I'm like, oh, that was really powerful. Thank you. That was the assessment.
Yeah.
So, so is it a grounding spot? Yeah. I mean, there's other students who are like coming to learn about gender identity and become comfortable and change their names, right? And do poetry in front of our students about that. There are students who didn't realize the extent to which they felt passionate about, First Nations, about oceans, about things, and they're developing that, and they're getting opportunities to.
Mr. Lubinich, could you contact 230, please? Mr. Lubinich, 230.
They're getting opportunities to go explore these passions with people in the community who are becoming mentors and helping guide them through channels. And I was telling a group of students yesterday, I mean, you are at a very fortunate time in your lives when you're 15, 16, where people will bend over backwards to help you. Because when you're 23, 24, it will not happen. So take advantage of it, right? If you're passionate about oceans right now, go. People will do everything they can to support your learning. When you're in university, it will not be the same.
Yeah.
So, and some students are finding that. So it's grounding for some, and for some it's grounding to the sense like, yeah, no, I don't want to do this. Like, this is just, I don't want to do the hard of Flex. I was just doing the easy, and that's not fulfilling. So I'm going to go back into the regular stream. So yeah, people are they're finding stuff out one way or another about themselves through this process.
Thinking back to your involvement with the 3 Campus project and your professional development, how does coming together, whether it's at the meetings or when we go to like a different regional hub, how does coming together with other stakeholders in the education world, so admin, ministry folks, students, other teachers, pre-service teachers, how does that benefit you, being in that kind of mix of people?
It's important to just understand our community. Like, who are we working with? Who are all our partners? So going back to kind of the idea that in a classroom teacher is often the most siloed person in the education system because they are in one classroom, hypothetically, with 1 or 8 groups of students, depending on what level you teach at, for their day. To be connected to those other stakeholders, to be sharing information, to be learning from, to getting permissions from, for them to validate. All these kinds of things allow me personally to continue to take risks as an educator, to continue to reach out and feel comfortable reaching out, to send superintendents of education, both at the district level as well as the superintendents at the ministry level. Hey, I came across this blog post. This might help what you're doing. Like that, those lines of communication are incredibly important for us. It also places me within a larger context of what's going on. One of the reasons that I feel passionately about being a classroom teacher is that we can make the change that people are talking about. And as a vice principal, a principal, a district administrator, you're creating spaces and hopefully support for people to make the change, but you still need those people to be doing the work. So it kind of places me within the that framework of doing the work, and then letting people know, people who are supporting me, letting them know what's happening and why it's happening and how it's going. So professionally, it's incredibly valuable. The development is the fact that I'm taking risks. I'm doing things with colleagues. We're reaching across districts, across schools, and then going and having the hub meetings is just that validation, and as well as like learning from and with each other, but also the validation of what we're doing and that we're not alone doing it.
Yeah.
So for me, that's the big part, and then extending those relationships, whether it's through Twitter or email, or I'm being part of those has also given me confidence to speak about them. So I'm speaking in Port Hardy in December. I'm going to Yukon in August to speak about what we're doing in Flex. The reason I can do those things is because of the support and these, again, that validation of what we've been doing that I've been given from people. If I was doing this on my own, alone, talking to like 2 other people, I don't know if I'd feel confident going out to say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is not what you need to do, but do what you need to do within your locality.
Yeah.
Like, take those risks. It's okay. And here's how we're doing it. So understanding that it's happening in different ways around the province is super powerful, to then go and talk to other people about, hey, from a classroom teacher's perspective, this is what we're doing and these are the challenges. And I know Salmon Arm is going through the same thing. I know, like Inspire Ed in Salmon Arm. I know that Vernon Community School is going through this. And I know that IGS in Claremont and Saanich is going through this. And I know PSII in Victoria is going through this, right? Like, these connections then allow us to share ideas across the province and outside the province in this case, but also with all stakeholders. And so we can speak to parents the same way, we can speak to superintendents, and we just draw upon all of our experiences to support the work that's going on.
Great. Thanks. You're done.
Done.
We did it.